we're learning an interesting sugya over here again, discussing the Yibam situation. And if you remember the psukim, and the psukim clearly say Yavama Yavoy Aleh, that the only way to take your brother's wife is be intimate with her, right? And if not, do chalitza. That you understood. Now, what would happen if you would do kedushin to her? You say harayat mukudesh asli. So from the Torah's reading, it should not be effective. So it should not work at all. And yet Chachamim says it does work. Okay, Chachamim did say that it works, and that somehow you're bonded to that woman. So I just want to go over just a quick, just inside what case we discussed in our Mishnah, and everything revolves around that. In the Mishnah, it said Reuven died and left over two women. Okay, two women. So Shimon went ahead and either gave a mimer, which means he gave kedushin to both women, or he gave a get. Instead of giving chalitza, he gave a get to both women. So the Mishnah says, according to the Chachamim, he's not only usher on the kroivim of the first wife, but he's also over on he's not allowed to marry the kroivim of the second wife. In other words, when a person has an affair with a lady, so it's not his wife, so he could technically marry that lady's mother. But when you're married to somebody, you become usher on the kroivim, the wife's sister, your wife's mother, mother-in-law, etc. So the fact that the Mishnah says the fact that Shimon gave a mimer, a kedushin to Chana, right? She's falling to Yibam, and then she gives another kedushin to Leah. According to the Chachamim, you become usher not only to the kroivim of Chana, but also to the kroivim of Leah. But the Rabbi Gamliel held no, you could only do it once, and the second one it doesn't work. We'll discuss that later on in our sugya. But this is where we're up to. Here we're up to Daf. Okay, we're up to Daf Nunam Beis, just after the Mishnah. Okay, right after the Mishnah, the beginning of the Gemara. So once we get into it, you'll see how it all smooths out. Okay, the Mishnah says, the Gemara begins, Ad kan loy pligi, there's no, up until this point, there's an argument between Rabbi Gamliel and the Chachamim, ela beget, achar get. If you give a get to one lady, and then you follow it up with another get to the other lady, umamar achamamar, or you did kedushin, or you gave mamar, and you did it following another mimer to the second one. So then it's a machlekes if you're usher on the kroivim of the second wife, a second lady, or not. Aval, but if the first one certainly works, alva get echad b'yavama echad, umayme echad b'yavama echad, get one get to one yavama or one kedushin to one yavama, it works. In li'u of being intimate with her, that will be like kedushin. In li'u of giving chalitza, you gave a get. But it's effective. Mahani, it is effective. So the Gemara asks, my taima, why is it called effective? My taima amar rabbanim get bi yavanim mahani. Why did the rabbanim say that if you give a get to a yavama, it should be effective? Now, why should it be effective? The Torah says the only thing that works is chalitza. So what does it mean, get bi yavanim mahani? So the Gemara says, Mishum de Mahani Ba'alma. The reason why Chachamim said it's effective is because it works all over. In every marriage situation, to get rid of the marriage, to break up the marriage, you need a get. So also the Chachamim said that to break up a Yavama, a get starts the process. Because the Amrit Loi Mahani, if Chachamim would have said, no, get would not work in this case, Amre, people will think, get lahitzia. Get in all other marriage situations, get can break up the union. The chalitza lahitzia, and the Torah says chalitza breaks up the union of yibam. And now, if you use get in the case of yibam, people are going to think bid the get loy mahani. Since the get, doesn't do anything, people will think chalitza nami loy mahani. That when the Torah says chalitza breaks up the yibam, it doesn't really work. What the Torah meant, people are going to think what the Torah meant was you need both. a get and a chalitza to break up a yibum situation. And therefore, what's going to happen? A person's going to give a chalitza to one lady, and then he's going to think to himself, I didn't do anything because it doesn't work. And therefore, he's going to marry the second lady. And that's usher, because once you do a chalitza, you're already moved away from this zika. This whole yibum is not. You can't take the second wife. It's usher for you. So therefore, the Chachamim said that the get should also be effective in a chalitza, in a yibum situation. Even though the Torah makes no mention about get, it's also effective. Now, the Gemara says, this person is going to do bia after chalitza, and that's asa. Okay. Now, umay taima amar rabbanan, what is the reason why the Rabbanan said, Maima b'yavama mahaman? Why would the Rabbanan say that kedushin b'yavama should help? The Torah only says bia works, not kedushin. And says Gemara mishum de mahani ba'alma, because kedushin works in every marriage situation. And the amrit loy mahani, if you're going to say that the Torah says it doesn't work over here, amre, people will think my malikness. Kedushin always works to acquire a wife, ubia likness, and bia acquires a wife, should acquire the yavama. And so I might think, and bia acquires a wife in normal situations. And so you're going to think, now apply it to a yibum situation, and mid the maimer loy mahani, people, if you're going to say that maimer doesn't work, people are going to think bia nami loy mahanya. People will also think that bia doesn't work by yibum situations. In other words, maybe the Torah wanted you to have a chuppah on something else. Even the Torah just says you should be intimate with her, but maybe the Torah requires something more. And therefore, a person's going to do bia with one of those ladies, and then he's going to think, I didn't do anything. He's going to do bia with the next lady, thinking he did nothing with the first lady. So therefore, Chachamim had to say that maimer works. Okay, and as I explained yesterday, if we don't do yibam today, but if they did you yibam today, they wouldn't just tell you, go be intimate with your brother's wife. They would tell you, first give a kedushin and then be intimate with her. Because as we're going to learn later on, the Chachamim now, once they established that maimer is effective, they actually wanted you to do maimer before you do bia with the lady. Umay taima omer rabbanan bia pesula yesh achra klum. Here is an interesting situation, which we discussed yesterday. If a person, by these two ladies, if he gave a get, if Shimon, in this case, gave a get to Chana, basically he's saying, I'm not going to do yibum in this house. So then, if he does a bia over here with Leah, minat Torah, you discount Chana, and he did yibum with Leah. And so therefore, everything should be good. But that's called a bia pesula, because you already did a get in this house. So why are you doing bia? It's frowned upon. Therefore, the Chachamim would force you to divorce this lady. And not only that, you would have to give a chalitza after that. That's what yesh achra klum. There's something else that needs to be done. So the Gemara says like this: why did the Chachamim do that? My tama omer rabbanim. Why did Rabbanim say bia pesula yesh achareho klum? That you must do something after. Besides giving a get, you have to do a chalitza. Because Amrei, Chachamim said, "I bia acha get he." If this bia followed a get, that means the first lady you gave a get, the second lady you're doing bia, gezerah bia acha get mishum bia acha chalitza. I'll make a gezerah that the bia after the get, if that's good, if that's a good bia, people will think bia acha chalitza is very good. If the first lady you gave chalitza to, and then you do a bia to the second lady, people think that the bia to the second lady is good. You're allowed to do that. Because you say bia works after get in a case of yibum situation, so bia after chalitza should also work if I gave chalitza to the first lady. And that certainly is no good, because once you gave chalitza, the whole zika of this whole yibum falls off. And if the first lady you gave a kedushin to, and then to the second lady you did bia, which is also frowned upon, because you're doing bia to the wrong lady that you did kedushin to. The first lady did maiman, the second lady you're doing bia. Gezerah bia achar maimer mishum bia achar bia. I make a gezerah that bia after maimer. If that is good, if that's effective, people will think bia acha bia is effective. I mean, if the person did bia with the first lady, which is a real yibam, and he'll think you can do bia with the second lady. And that's not true because you're over a lav. Once you're miyabim one time, you can't be miyabim the second lady. In other words, you only can do yibam with one of the ladies, not two of the ladies. So that's why they said a bia pasula is you have to be careful. As soon as there's a bia psula, you have to get divorced and you got to give a chalitza. But once you give a chalitza psula, you don't have to do anything more, which means that a chalitza psula means you gave a get to the first lady, and then to the second lady you gave a chalitza. So that's it. Nothing more needs to be done. Why? Amrei, because Chacham says, my ligzor, what should we tell this guy to do? Nigza chalitza acha get, mishum chalitza acha chalitza. If you're going to say chalitza acha get is good, people will say chalitza acha chalitza is good. There's nothing wrong. If you gave chalitza to the first lady, so you give chalitza to the second lady, nothing could happen. Kol kihani tachles utezel. You can continue to give chalitza with no effect, because once you gave chalitza, the second chalitza that you give to the second lady is just superfluous, extra. You don't need to do that. So there's nothing to be a geyser. Ligzer chalitza achar maimer mishum chalitza achar bia. Let's be geyser chalitza after maimer. If the first lady gave maimer and then you did chalitza, if you say that chalitza is effective, maybe people think chalitza achar bia would be effective. The first lady did bia. Oh, if the first lady did bia, you were miyabim, then chalitza would not work. So the Gemara says, true, but even a chalitza achar maimer, at the chalitza achar maimer, mi loy boya get l'mamor, right? When you do chalitza following to the first lady do mamar, you still have to go back and give a get to the first lady that you did maimer to. So that's certainly people are not going to forget to do that. So chalitza acha bia nami boya get lebi yosei. People are not going to forget that if you do chalitza after doing the bia by the first guy, you did bia to the first lady and you did chalitza to the second lady. People are not going to think that the first lady could walk free just because he did a chalitza. The first lady is still going to need a gad. So when we said that a chalitza psula ein achra klum, it doesn't mean that you don't have to do anything. You still have to give a get. But it means that if you would, let's say there was a third lady in this situation, if you would do a maimer or get to the third lady, once you did chalitza, the whole story is over. And therefore, ein achra klum means you can never be usher to any other if there was a third lady, you can never be usher to the kroiva of that third lady, no matter what you do, because if you did a chalitza already for this family. Okay, new Gemara, and again, even just to follow the basic case of this, we're going to explain is what Rabbi Gamliel holds. Rabbi Gamliel holds that there is ein get, no matter what you do to the first lady, if you give her a get or maimer, to the second lady, ein get achar get. You're never going to be usher to the kroivim of the second lady. So if you give a get, ein get achar get. Nothing, you're permitted to the relatives of the second lady. If you did maimer to the first lady, you're permitted to the relatives of the second lady, even if you did maimer to the second lady. Now the question is like this. Amar Rava. Rava said, we go to top of Nun Aleph, Amar Aleph. My timer the Rabbi Gamliel. What is the reason why Rabbi Gamliel says that if you do two gittin to the two ladies or two mimers, you're not usher in the kroivim of the second lady? So the Gemara says the misapkele. Rabbi Gamliel was in doubt of the whole situation. Get. If you use a get by Yavam situation, Rabbi Gamliel is of the opinion that either it 100% works or it doesn't work at all. Either the Chacham said it works 100%, and maybe you don't even need chalitza, or it doesn't work at all. So Rabbi Gamliel was safek. Get idachi if it works, iloi dachi if it doesn't work. Maimer, when you give kedushin, maybe that takes the place of bia. Ikani, maybe you kaina. Iloi kani, you didn't acquire the lady. He was in doubt. Even though the Torah says specifically bia and chalitza, but maybe the Torah also meant get and kedushin. He's not sure. So now get if it works. Idachi, if it works, Eloi Dachi. So then you can never have a problem by doing two gittin. I kama Dachi, if it blew away the first one, that means if get works, that means the whole Yibam situation falls away by you giving get, by the guy giving a get to the first lady. So then Basra Mike Ovid, by giving a get to the second lady, you didn't do anything because the whole Zika, the whole marriage, the whole Yibam situation fell off because you gave a get to the first lady. If the first lady, if get doesn't work at all, so it's a zero. So then it didn't work by this first lady, Basra Nami Leidachi. So it's not going to do anything by the second lady. So it's as if you did nothing to the second lady. So you're never going to be usher to the craving of the second lady. And the same thing is by Mamar. Mamar is the same thing, just you say the opposite. Mamar. Mamar means Kedushin. Is it work like Mamish, like Bia? So that's what he had a suffix. Ikani, Iloikani. Does it acquire the lady 100% or not? Ikama Kani, if it worked 100%, so then you acquired by doing Mamar to the first lady, by giving Kedushin to the first lady. So then automatically you did Yibban with this family. So the second one, by giving Kedusha to the second one, you didn't do anything. Basra Micah of it. It wouldn't work by giving Kedusha to the second lady because the Torah only gives you a right to acquire one of the two ladies. And if you acquired the first lady, so by giving Kedusha to the second lady, it's not going to be effective at all. If giving Kedusha money, instead of being intimate with her, you gave Kedusha money, and that doesn't work, then Basra Nami Loikani, it's not going to work by the second one either. So that is the understanding right now of the opinion of Rabbi Gamliel of the beginning of this parak, who said that ein get achar get, ein maimer achar maimer, because Rabbi Gamliel is of the opinion that either it works 100% like chalitza, a get, or it doesn't work at all. Either maimer works 100% like bia, or it doesn't work at all. So Esvei Abaya doesn't understand. Understand. He asks a strong question of the way we understand Rabbi Gamliel, because from the following brisa it says something that seems to pose a difficulty. Rabbi Gamliel would agree that if you gave if in the situation where to first lady you gave maimer, and the second lady you gave get, yesh get achamaimo, or the opposite scenario, umayma achar get. The first lady you gave a get, and the second lady you give a maimer, or the first lady you give maimer, and the second lady you give a get. It's effective. That means you'll be also on the krivim of the second one. And then let's say you have three ladies. The get to the third lady you give a get, following achar bia maimer. To the first lady you gave bia. And then the second lady that's falling to Yibam, there were all three were married to one brother. And the second lady you did Bia, and the third lady you did Get. It would be something of an effect. Now, here you can see the question. What do you mean? Why should the third lady have any Aser? Why should the Get that you're doing to the third lady be effective? If Maimer works completely, then the Bia was ineffective. If Maimer doesn't work completely, then the Bia was 100% effective. And so the Get afterwards doesn't do anything. And the same thing over here. Maimar acha bia get, Rabbi Gamliel would say that would asa kroivin. That's what he says. That if you did get to the first lady, a second lady did bia, and the third lady did maimar, you're asa to the kroivin of the third lady. Wait a second. If get was 100% effective, then the bia was unnecessary. And if get is not 100% effective, so it means it's zero. So then the bia was something, a kosher yibam. And therefore the maimar after that, the mimer after that is effective. So that's the Gemara's question. So the mimer after that should not be effective. Let the bia be like the first time you're doing yibam and you're koina. So the mimer after that should not be effective. So why does Rabbi Gamliel say that the mimer or the get after a bia is still effective? The Tanam, we learned in the Mishnah, Habila, once you do Bia to one of the ladies, Bisman Shi Betchila, if it's the first time, sorry. Yeah. Let me do it. Can you see I guess you can see my screen. Yeah.
Yeah, we can see your face, but
okay.
Here we go.
I don't know what's happening. The internet.
All screen.
Yeah, okay. So the Gemara says like this, Ella Amar Abaya. This is where we're up to. Ella Amar Abaya. We're trying to understand Rabbi Gamliel. Rabbi Gamliel, we're trying to understand. We'll understand Rabbi Gamliel. Ella Amar Abaya. La'olam peshita le Rabbi Gamliel beget the dachi. Get works. Umayim dekani. It works, but it works like a 50%. But and get works 50%. You know, if you give a get, it does something. Even Rabbi Gamliel would agree to that. But you only get 3 trump cards in every, like you see this, when all these ladies are falling to Yibam. So you get 3 possibilities to do something. You could do get, mimer, or bia, or chalitza, bia. So therefore, like this, Rabbi Gamliel says. Rabbi Gamliel holds pshita le Rabbi Gamliel beget the dachi mayin the kani. Mi Amar Rabbanan. Rabbanan says hayavama bechatzad mahani get. At one, you could use a get for one chance. Bechatzad mahani by mimer, and you have one chance to use a mimer. So that's what the Gemara is saying. Get acher get loy dachi. Get after a get doesn't work. The dachi le kama because you used up the trump card of it giving a get to the zika. Umaymer acha mimer. If you do 2 mimers to this zika, to this, yibam situation, loy kani, it doesn't work. The kani lekama because you used already one time the mimer. In other words, for every yibam situation, for every family, you have one time to use a trump card of a get. You can one time use a mimer, but you can't use 2 mimers or 2 gets. Get acha mimer. But a get after a mimer acha get. But if you use a mimer to one lady and a get to the other lady, or mimer, or the opposite, high milsa kadachi, one of them you're actually pushing away. The high milsa and the mimer kakani, you're trying to acquire. So it can work. It can work. And so therefore, if you put bia in the middle, bia after mimer would work because according to Rabbi Gamliel, it is somewhat effective no matter what. And you can use it once. So once it's effective, the bia is effective as well, but you still have a chance to use a get afterwards. So you always have a chance to use one of the 3, get, bia, mimer, in any yibam situation. But Rabbanan go even one step further. You can use get, bia, or mimer not only for one yibam situation family, but for each and every girl, you get a chance to use mimer. Each and every person, you get a chance to use get. Rabbanan kol chad b'chad, each and every woman in the situation of Yibam. So in our example, where the man had 2 wives, takina le Rabbanan gave you the right to use get umaymer b'yavama. For each girl, for each lady, you could use a get and mimer. Just because you used up the get with the first lady doesn't mean you don't get a chance to use up the get for the second lady. And therefore, if you did do a get with the second lady, Rabbanan hold yesh get, acher get. Now the Gemara just continues just to the Tan Rabbanan. L'hai bia pasula adifa memaimer. If a bia pasula is worse than mimer. In other words, get following mimer, a mimer following get, and a mimer and a bia following get are very, very different. And the Gemara is going to explain like this. Bia following a bia psula adifa memaima ugri memaima. In some ways, a bia following a mimer, following a get, is better than mimer and worse off than mimer. Let's explain it. Adifa mimer is better than mimer. The ilu maima acha maima loikan. According to Rabbi Gamliel, if you did mimer to the first lady, then if you do mimer to the second lady, it's loy mahani, it's not effective. V'ilu bia acha maima mahani. But bia after mimer, if you did mimer to the first lady and you did bia to the second lady, you're also on the kroivim on the second lady. So that is definitely that the Gemara says that works. Ugriya maima, but sometimes bia is worse than mimer. The ilu maima acha get, mimer after a get, kani le lekule. Shiure the get. You get something because whatever the get left over, mimer works. There's no such a thing of a mimer pesula. The ilu bia achar get, but a bia after a get, loy kain le lekule shiure the get. it doesn't make the whole thing effective anymore. It's not that you can remain with such a woman. Actually, you have to do a get. You have to do a get for that woman and do a chalitza. So, according to Rabbi Gamliel, if you did maimer after a get, there's nothing more to be done. But if you did a bia achar a get, it doesn't work, and therefore you're going to need a chalitza. So that's just the Gemara explaining the rationale behind what Rabbi Gamliel holds. Now, new Gemara, Tanu Rabbanan. This should be self-explanatory. Kate said, Omar Rabbi Gamliel, ein get achar get. Rabbis taught, what is the case of ein get achar get? We were just discussing it the whole time. Now you see it in the brisa spelled out. Shtei Yevamis, you have two ladies, shenaftu lifnei yavam echad, that are falling for one yavam. Okay, two ladies falling to one man. V'nasan get lezu v'get lezu, and you gave a get to both. So again, Chana and Leah falling to Shimon, and Shimon gives a get to Chana, and Shimon gives a get to Leah. By doing so, Rabbi Gamliel holds, Rabbi Gamliel holds cholaitz l'rishayna. What you should do in this scenario is you should give chalitza to the first lady, v'asa b'krayva, and you're also in the krayva of that. Because once you gave a get to the first lady, you automatically not permitted in her relatives. So Rabbi Gamliel is giving you good advice, do chalitza to that lady, because you anyway remain usher on the relatives of that first lady. But to the second lady, umuta b'krayva shniya, you will be permitted in the relatives of the second lady. Because although you gave a get to the second lady, Rabbi Gamliel holds the get is ineffective. And therefore, you'll remain permitted to do with the relatives of the second lady. That's why don't do chalitza to the second lady, because then you'll become usher in both of them. So Rabbi Gamliel advised to give chalitza to the first lady. But Chachamim says, nasan get lezu, v'get lezu, if you gave a get to each of the ladies, also b'kroivei shteihem, you're usher in both of the relatives, because it's as if you were married to each one of those ladies. And therefore, you become usher to the both of the relatives. So v'chalitza lachas mehem. So no matter what, you can give chalitza to any which one, because you'll always remain usher. You'll always remain usher to both of them. And then the same idea would happen. We didn't discuss this, but it can work the same way. You have two men, two brothers, and there's one lady falling to Yibam. And the question is, if you do Yibam, if one brother did get, and then the next brother did get, is the second brother become usher to the relatives because he followed a get of the first brother. So the same machlekes would be between Rabbi Gamliel and Chachamim if yesh get acha get, ein get acha get. Ketzad, the Gemara goes a little further. Amar Rabbi Gamliel ein mama acha mamar. What is the case of no maimer after maimer? Shtei yevamish naflu lifnei yavam echad. Again, two ladies fall before one man. Echad ve'asa maimer bazu. He did kedushin in this lady and he did kedushin in this lady. So Rabbi Gamliel said, you can't decide, I want to live with one of the ladies. Because once you did two kedushins, you lost the chance to do yibum. That's for sure. But Chachamim said, because you mixed around with two of the ladies, and that's it. If you pick one, stay with that one. If you pick two, then you get nothing. So Rabbi Gamliel says, nice and get l'rishayni. You should give a get to the first one, v'choylitz law, and you give chalitza to her. Because her maimer was effective, and a chalitza, also b'krayvasa, and you remain also in the first lady. But the fact that you gave a maimer to the second lady, umuta b'krayvashniya, because the maimer to the second lady is not effective, because Rabbi Gamliel holds ein maimer acha maimer. Chachamim says no. The maimer after the first maimer is a good kedushin, so you basically have a connection to both of them. Nois and get l'shteyem. You have to give a get to both of them. V'asa b'krayv shteyem. You also to both of them, the relative to both of them. But chalitza lachas mem, and you can choose a chalitza to one of them. The same scenario would hold true if you have two men and one lady, and each of the brothers were following up with two gittin or two maimers. Amamar. Let's examine closely what we just discussed. Rabbi Gamliel says if one man gave two gets to the two ladies falling to Yibim, nice and get lezu, if he did do that, Rabbi Gamliel you do chalitza to one of the ladies. And then That's it. One of the all you need here in this scenario is one chalitza. So the Gemara says, "Leime tehebi tiyufti de Shmuel." Let this be a refutation of the opinion of Shmuel. The Amar Shmuel says that cholatz lebalas a get. If someone gives chalitza to a lady that he gave a get prior to doing chalitza, he gave a get to the lady. So that's not enough of a get. To the co-wife, you have to give another chalitza because the co-wife didn't have a get. And therefore, the co-wife didn't have a get, and you did a chalitza on top of a get. So your chalitza was like a weak type of, the first chalitza was a weak type of chalitza. Shmuel would require you to give another chalitza to the co-wife. And in here, in our situation, by Rab Gamliel, the first get is effective. The co-wife over here didn't have a get. And yet, Rabbi Gamliel says the chalitza for the first wife that you gave chalitza to is effective for the co-wife. So this is a refutation to the opinion of Shmuel. Amalacha Shmuel will say, Ki Amri Ana, when was I talking about Aliba Daman Yomi Yezika? If you hold that when a woman falls to Yibam, it's automatically, she's like already bonded with the Yabam, then you need a strong chalitza to get rid of such a zika, such a bond. Rav Gamliel Sava Ein Zika. Rav Gamliel holds there is no Zika. When a woman falls to Yibam, it's not like she's bonded to Yibam. There's a mitzvah to do something, but it's not like they're bonded with each other. And therefore, a weak type, you can give any chalitza to the first lady, and it automatically works for the co-wife. The Gemara just jumps in and with Rav Gamliel Sava Ein Zika. If you're going to say Rabbi Gamliel holds no Zika, we go to Nun Aleph and Bebeis. Rabbanan Sabri Yesh Zika. Rabbanan will hold there is Zika. The Katani Sefer, but we learned in the end of the Mishnah, the same scenario would hold true. The Chachamim will hold their scenario if you have two Yavamim and one Yavama. That means two brothers, and there's one lady, and one brother did get, and the second brother did a get. The same would hold true that you could do one chalitza to any one of the ladies and it works. Why would the Rabbanan hold something like that? The Amar Rabba Bar Huna Amar Rav. Rabba Bar Huna said in the name of Rav, chalitza pesula tzrichas lachsa kol ha'achim. In this case, when you gave a get, the first get, the next chalitza that you do after the get is called a chalitza pesula. It's called a chalitza pesula because it's really a chalitza that you could have no choice. You could not do yibam once you gave a get. So therefore, if there's a chalitza pesula, according to Rav, you would actually have to get chalitza from every one of the brothers. But according to the way we read in the Mishnah, in the Brisa, the Chacham said no. If two brothers gave a get each one to this one lady, all she needs is just a chalitza for any one of the brothers. And Rav said you need to get chalitza from all the brothers. So and Rabbanan, we think, since Rabbi Gamliel holds Ein Zika, Rabbanan will hold Yeshik. There is a bond. Amalach Rabba Bar Huna. Rabba Bar Huna says, Bein the Rabbi Gamliel, Bein the Rabbanan Sabre, Ein Zika. Everybody holds there is no Zika. And this has nothing to do with that. Everybody holds Ein Zika. And therefore, you don't have to get chalitza from all the brothers. And Rav was only talking about the opinion if you hold Yesh Zika. They're arguing if there's such a situation of get acher get or maimer acher maimer. Rabbi Gamliel holds no, and Rabbi Chachamim hold yes. It's a totally different argument. Another 2 more minutes, and then we'll stop. Amamar, we learned before. Asa maimer bazu, maimer bazu. The guy did maimer to one lady and then maimer to the second lady. Rabbi Gamliel says, Noisin get l'rishoina, but also b'kroi v'sel, umuta b'kroi v'shnia. Rabbi Gamliel said the maimer to the first lady is effective, so you should give a get to her, and then chalitza. You can't do yibam over here because you gave a maimer to the second lady, so you already spoiled your chance to do yibam. Because why did you give kedushin to the second lady? So the chachamim would require you to give a get to the first lady and give chalitza, and you also in the kroivis, in the relative of the first lady, umutter b'kroi v'shnia, but you're mutter on the relative of the co-wife. That's what we learned in the before. Nichte, Rabbi Gamliel says, Ksaver Rabbi Gamliel, ein maimer acha maimer. Maimer after maimer doesn't work. So the fact is, by you giving a maimer to the second lady, it's as if you did nothing. So therefore, why can't you be meyabim the first lady? That's the shmaka kasha. Rishoina nami tisyabim. If Rabbi Gamliel holds a maimer after maimer doesn't work, that means by giving a kedushin to the second lady, it's as if you did nothing. And therefore, you only did mimer to one lady. So why are they requiring you not to marry this lady? Why can't they do yibum to this lady? Answers the Gemara, if I allowed you to do yibum to the first lady, gezerah dilma asla yabumi lishniya, you might do yibum to the second lady because you did a mimer to the second lady, albeit a mimer that has no value to it. But if you allow the person to miyabim the first lady, he'll come to miyabim the second lady. And being miyabim the second lady is asur because you have a bonding, a connection with the first lady because you made a mimer with her. So therefore, they required you don't do yibum to this family, and you should get rid of it with a get and chalitza only to the first lady. One more line. Amar Rabbi Yochanan, Rab Gamliel, Ubei Shammai, Rab Shimon, Uben Azai, Rab Nechemia, Kulei Sviru Lahu. All these opinions, Rab Gamliel, Ubei Shammai, and Rab Shimon, Ben Azai, Rab Nechemia, all holds Maina Koine Kinyan Gomer. You do the first mimer that you do, it works. It's very effective. Rab Gamliel Hada Amram. Rab Gamliel, we see that Rab Gamliel in our Mishnah holds that it's very effective. Why? Because Rab Gamliel holds that there's no mimer after mimer. So we see that a mimer is doing mimer once already is very, very effective. Beis Shammai, we find Beis Shammai concurs somewhat with the opinion of Rabbi Gamliel as well. The Tanam we learned in the Mishnah, Shloisha Achem, Shnai Mehem, Shnuim Shtei Achoyes, Ve'echad Mufna. This is the scenario. You have 3 brothers, and this is, we'll stop over here. Look what Beis Shammai says. You have 3 brothers, Reuven, Shimon, Levi. Okay, now, Reuven and Shimon married sisters, okay? The first one over here, Shimon dies, okay? So what did Levi do? He did a mimer to Leah. So he didn't really do yibum to Leah, he did a mimer to Leah. And then Reuven dies. So now, can he continue to marry Leah? But now he has 2 sisters falling to yibum. So the Rabbi Shammai holds, what does Beis Shammai hold? Beis Shammai holds, Shloisha Achim, you have 3 brothers. 2 of them are married to 2 sisters. Ve'echad Mufna. And one's not married to anybody. Meis echad mibalei achoyes. One of the husbands of the sisters died. V'asa ba mufna maimer. And the remaining brother, one of the single brother, not married to any of the sisters, he did maimer. And then the second one brother died. So really, min haTorah, you have 2 sisters falling to yibum. So really, you should, even though from 2 different houses, you should do chalitza with each one of them. But Beis Shammai says the fact that you did mimer to one of the ladies, that made it like it's as if your wife, she's your wife. And the other sister will be able to walk away without doing anything. Beis Shammai, that's your wife. You did mimer, that's your wife. So it's a very strong opinion Beis Shammai held that although the Torah says you should be intimate with a yibum, with a yavama, but if you do mimer, that's your wife. The other one goes because it's your wife's sister falling to yibum. So we'll continue this a discussion tomorrow regarding Ben Azai and Rab Shimon Ben Azai Nechemia, who also concur with Rabbi Gamliel's opinion that mimer is a very strong thing to do when it comes to yibum. Okay.
A lot of stuff.
A lot of stuff. It's just the way